It's soft enough, it's bouncy enough, so you're not losing any performance benefits out of the foam just because the shoe is a little bit more stable than the other race day shoes. But overall, so testing is complete and the scores are in, and this is the full review of the HOKA Rocket X3. But before we get into it, and if you guys want to support the channel and you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And in the specs, so this one is a neutral road racing shoe, and you're going to be able to pick it up in Australia for a pretty hefty $390 or $250 in the US. Now in the weight, not too bad here, 202 grams or 7.1 ounces. Now that's this shoe, a US 8.5. And in the stack, we've got 40 in the rear, 33 in the front, and that's going to give us a 7mm drop. Now for the scores, now I know in the US, this shoe is priced at about the same level as most of the other race shoes on the market, but in Australia, this shoe is priced at the very top. So it's priced higher than the top tier race shoes. Its performance doesn't warrant that. HOKA notoriously are well overpriced here in Australia. This shoe needs to come down by at least $50. That's why it's getting 6 out of 10. And in the weight, it still doesn't feel heavy on the foot, but in comparison to its competitors, it's going to need to start shaving a little bit more weight off, because the shoe that I've just reviewed recently, the Metaspeed Ray, so this shoe is 3 ounces heavier than that. Saying that though, it's not really that noticeable on the foot. Still not too bad here, 8.5 out of 10. And in the upper, so the material that they're using is what they call a engineered warp knit jacquard upper. So to me, it just looks like a single layer mesh. And the breathability though is excellent, just what you want in your race day shoe. Really solid heel counter at the back, so solid little cap, nice little Achilles flare, minimal amount of padding around the heel collar, and a minimal amount of padding on the tongue. The tongue is not gusseted. It does tend to move around a little bit, but I haven't had any issues with that one. Really simple lacing system, just reinforced eyelets down either side. They use those notch shoelaces, which is a real winner. No issues with those coming undone. In the lockdown department, really good through the midfoot, no heel slippage in the back. In the fit, true to size in the length, but in general, this is a performance fit. So it's quite snug, it's on the narrow side, and the volume is quite low. Stepping comfort, not too bad as well. Build quality is absolutely excellent. Now for the scores, I think this upper, apart from its really complicated name, I think it's a really good quality upper. It performs well. I probably just wish there was a little bit more room in it, but not too many complaints here, 9 out of 10. And in the outsole, so what they're using here is what they call their sticky rubber. Now to the touch, this sticky rubber is certainly quite soft. It's very tacky on the road, so grip in dry conditions is absolutely excellent. But what is surprising here is, for a race shoe, it's actually quite thick, the amount of sticky rubber that they're using, but I understand why now, because it does show signs of wear quite early. I have put this shoe through the ringer though, but I have got a fair chunk of that outsole wearing down. However, I don't believe it's going to affect the durability in the shoe, because again, this is a race day shoe, but in comparison to the other race day shoes on the market, the durability in this one is going to be certainly up there. Its only small little letdown is this sticky rubber, how it does perform in the wet conditions. It's still not bad, but it's certainly not quite as good as the top level grips on the market, like the Puma grip or the Axis grip. But overall, performance wise, I'm going to say it's pretty happy. They've certainly improved their rubber on the bottom, certainly in this shoe, 8 out of 10. And in the midsole, so we've got a dual density foam setup, 2 layers of PEBA foam, both different formulations because they certainly feel different to the touch. Now this top layer, the really shiny glossy layer, as you can see there, majority of it is under the forefoot. It does thin out towards the back, but that is the softer, more squishier foam. And then the bottom layer of PEBA doesn't feel as soft and squishy, but obviously adds a little bit of stability while still giving us a good amount of bounce and comfort. And sandwiched between those 2 layers of foam, they've got a full-length carbon plate. It's got some slots in it, but it's also got this little wing feature. And that's just to add a little bit more stability to the shoe. Now, how stiff is the shoe? Well, in comparison to other race shoes, it's certainly on the stiffer side, especially up here through the forefoot. And in the twist test as well, it's a pretty solid shoe. In the geometry, one of my favorite features of the shoe here, early stage rocker, so certainly back towards more the middle of the shoe, more so than the later stages. So nice and early rocker, and I'm going to say it's pretty aggressive as well. So it feels quite aggressive on the run. The shape of the actual geometry is very similar to its brother or sister shoe, so the HOKA Cielo X1 2.0. So same type of shape, but it's not quite as aggressive as that shoe. And we've got a little bit of a rear foot rocker here in the back as well. And in the ride, well, if you watch my first impressions review, I was a little bit hit and miss with the shoe, so I really appreciated the foam. Like all race shoes, it's soft, it's bouncy, it feels propulsive. I really enjoyed the geometry. For me, I think it's the winner again with this shoe. But what I did struggle with the shoe is when I wanted to put some real power through the shoe, power up through the front, I felt like this shoe was fighting against me. So I felt like it's got some inherited stability within the shoe. It wouldn't let me fully pronate over so I could power off properly out of the forefoot. So those faster paces in this shoe didn't work for me, and they still don't really work for me. Hence, I started taking this shoe out on some long runs and running some steady pace just to see how it performs, and this shoe started to shine. So I think anything under that, say 4-minute 10 up to 5-minute kilometers, when this shoe started, I started to get the shoe, so I understood the shoe a little bit more. Now, I did just run the Sydney Marathon in this shoe probably a couple months ago. I can't remember how long it was now, and this was my shoe of choice because I wasn't going to race the Sydney Marathon. I just wanted to complete it. I just wanted to tick the box. It was its first year as a major, and I did have a marathon a month after that. So I did use this one because I knew it was a nice and safe option. I knew it was stable, and I knew it would stop me running too fast as well. So that's where I think this shoe absolutely shines. So I think this is a really great option for those runners out there that find the other race shoes on the market a little bit too unstable. I think this shoe is still going to give you super shoe benefits, but it's going to feel nice and stable as well. It feels super efficient. I absolutely love this geometry. Early rocker allows the legs to tick over, and as I said, there's foam. It's soft enough, it's bouncy enough, so you're not losing any performance benefits out of the foam just because the shoe is a little bit more stable than the other race day shoes. But overall, really enjoyable ride, stable, safe, fun. It just doesn't quite work for me at the faster paces, but I'm not saying it's not going to work for you. Pretty good, 8 out of 10. And best use, well, if you haven't worked it out already, I think this shoe is absolutely built for the marathon and that certain zone of the marathon as well. So I think that pace range, I think if you're aiming at about 4-minute 20 per kilometre, up to 5-minute per kilometre over the marathon, I think this is the pace range where this shoe will shine. Well, it certainly does for me. Yes, it certainly can go faster if you want it to, but just because it didn't work for me because of the inherited stability off the forefoot doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So it is designed for all types of races, but for me, I just think it's going to suit those marathon runners at that pace range. So some other options out there if you are considering this shoe. So the first one I'll mention is the Saucony Endorphin Pro 4. So that one, again, is a very safe, stable race day option. So if you're looking for your first carbon plated shoe, or again, you're at about that same pace range as about what this shoe sort of shines at, that is a great option there. The next one I'll mention is the New Balance SC Elite V4 or even V5. So that one, you're going to get a little bit more of a softer ride, a little bit more of a dynamic ride. But again, I think that shoe is probably not as stable as this shoe, but still quite a very safe and stable ride when in comparison to the other super shoes on the market. And the last one I'll mention is probably the pick of the bunch. That is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. So that shoe, it's got more bounce, it's more exciting, it feels like a faster shoe. It's still a pretty stable shoe as well. However, that shoe is $70 cheaper than this shoe. And just wrapping up the review here, so this is a really solid shoe, but it's just way too expensive. So at $390 here in Australia, it's not worth that much. As I said before, it's priced higher than the top tier race shoes here in Australia, and it doesn't perform at that level. You've got the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3, that is $320, so $70 cheaper than this shoe. So who's going to buy this shoe when you can buy that shoe? And the performance of that Puma shoe is levels above this shoe. So I do wish HOKA would just come to the party here. I'm not sure if it's taxes, import taxes, I don't know what's going on, but why HOKA is just so overpriced here in Australia. But for me, I'm not letting them get away with it. I'll always mention it on their reviews. I wish they would just come down with the rest of the brands. But anyway, saying that, should you buy this shoe? So at full recommended retail price here in Australia at $390, no, don't buy it. Wait till this shoe goes on sale. Wait till it drops $50, $60, $70. It brings itself down to the competition, and then I think it's definitely worth to consider. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Any questions you've got regarding this shoe, how it compares to anything else, hit me up in the comments. I'll be putting the leaderboard up again after this review, and you can see where the HOKA Rocket X sits in comparison to its competitors. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.